morning. I'm Mai Rodriguez, sitting in for Mikey Oreta. You're watching Basis Points, where we dive deep into the numbers and stories that drive our economy and shape our world. The headlines. Chief Economist Arsenio Balisacan warns a reenacted budget would be costly for the Philippine economy. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump threatens to retake the Panama Canal. And the new management of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport says it's ready for the influx of holiday travelers. Chief Economist Arsenio Balisacan warns a reenacted budget would be costly for the Philippine economy as it could delay projects and lead to wasted resources. Balisacan told the Business Mirror that while he does not want to preempt President Marcos's decision on the national budget, a reenacted budget is not what the economy needs at this time. The proposed 6.3 trillion peso budget being studied by the president has been heavily criticized for excluding a subsidy for PhilHealth and a reduction of the Education Department's budget allocation. On Sunday, the Philippine Economic Society released an open letter to the president appealing for what it calls a thoughtful review and line item veto of the 2025 budget. The group raised concerns regarding the 74 billion plus reduction in PhilHealth subsidies and the 11.6 billion peso cut in the Education Department's budget. An analyst said that the upside risks to the inflation outlook might slow the rate-cutting cycle of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP. Global Source country analyst Diwa Gunigundo said that a 100 basis point interest rate reduction for 2025 might not happen. Instead, he said that a 50 to 75 basis point cut is possible, adding that the BSP's final decision will continue to be data-driven. The central bank delivered a third straight rate cut at its final policy meeting for this year, bringing the benchmark to 5.75% from 6%. The BSP has slashed rates by a total of 75 BPS this year since it started its easing cycle last August. The country's outstanding external debt hit another record high last September. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas reported data from the central bank revealed that the external debt inched up by 17.5% to $139.64 billion as of end September, from $118.83 billion same period last year. The BSP explained that the increase was primarily driven by total net availments of both public and private sector borrowers and net acquisition of Philippine debt securities by non-residents. The debt stock also increased by 7.3% from 130.18 billion as of end June. The new NAIA Infra Corporation is ready for the holiday rush at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport this year. The number of passengers and flights are expected to exceed the figures recorded during Undas and in the same period in 2023. The NNIC expects nearly 2.3 million passengers through its terminals from December 20 to January 3 next year, a 10.95% increase from last year's figures. Since taking over management of the country's main gateway several months ago, the NNIC has implemented several improvements to ease passenger flow. These include additional drop-off and pick-up lanes to ease congestion around the terminals and the establishment of a dedicated hub at Terminal 3, the busiest terminal for ride-hailing services and metered taxis. As an added bonus, the NNIC has launched its Fly and Win promo, where 2 lucky passengers can win a BMW. The promo will run from December 16 to January 15. The winners will be drawn on January 17. NNIC President and Bilyonaryo Ramon Ang said it's their way of thanking their passengers for their continued support. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump threatened to reassert U.S. control of the Panama Canal. He has accused the country of charging excessive rates for ships to cross between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Trump also said he would not let the canal fall into the wrong hands, warning of a potential Chinese influence on the passage. A subsidiary of Hong Kong-based TK Hutchinson Holdings has managed 2 ports located in the Caribbean. and the Pacific entrances to the canal.
The United States is the #1 user of the Panama Canal, with over 72% of all transits heading to or from U.S. ports. Think of that. So we built it. We're the ones that use it. They gave it away. Considered one of the great wonders of the world. The Panama Canal opened for business 110 years ago and was built at huge cost to the United States, and it really is big when you consider the lives and the treasure, the equivalent of $1.2 trillion today. You don't hear those numbers.
In a video posted on social media, Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino rejected Trump's claims of overcharging. He also asserted that the waterway stays with Panama. Let's take a quick look at the financial markets. U.S. stocks rallied to close out the trading week on Friday as a cooler than expected inflation report and comments from Federal Reserve officials eased worries about the path of interest rates. The S&P gained 1.09%, while the Nasdaq also gained 1.03%. The Dow Jones also rose to 1.18%.
So today we got another read on the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, PCE. We saw numbers that were largely in line with expectations, but it's important to remember those expectations were for inflation numbers to be still elevated, to show continued signs of elevation, and to be well north of the Fed's preferred number of 2%. And we're not even where things round to 2%. We round to 3%, and we see some signs of those numbers beginning to increase and tick up in speed.
Over in Europe, markets headed southwards. The FTSE slid 0.26%. Germany's DAX index shed 0.43%, while France's CAC 40 slipped 0.27%. In the Asia-Pacific, markets are slightly up. Japan's Nikkei rose by 0.45%. South Korea's Kospi also up by 0.7%, while Australia's S&P ASX 200 also up by 0.57%. We're taking a quick break. Stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand at the forefront.
It's still continuing with hearings on the EJ.
But we can recommend the filing of cases with the proper offices or agencies.
It is always victimizing the poor, so we will continue to go against corruption in the budget.
At the forefront with attorney Karen Jimeno, 8 a.m.
Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, what does the investigation cover? We tackle the issues.
The president's immunity from suit is absolute.
We clarify matters and we get on point.
Watch his press con. Sinabi niya na ayaw niya ng kudeta.
What is questionable about the AR, sir? The Vice President keeps insisting walang active threat kung hindi ako mamamatay.
Ayun na lang natin, mahirap pang pangunahan eh.
Pinky Webb, on point.
Magandang araw, Pilipinas! Sa bawat issue may iba't ibang anggulo. Sa bawat storya may iba't ibang kwento.
Himayin natin ang bawat sulok at bawat kanto mula sa iba't ibang perspektibo na madaling maintindihan ng karaniwang mamamayan.
Every Saturday lang kami to 11:30 a.m. Kaya huwag kayong papahuli, mga kabayan. Manatiling may pakialam sa mga issue sa ating bansa. Kaya samahan niyo kami dito lang sa Cuatro Cantos!
It has no authorization.
We hope and pray that it will not.
Thanks for having me here.
An orchestrated
By myself, basically.
We always say that.
It depends.
A well-concerted effort.
Perhaps I can reiterate. My greatest beefsteak. Iba na iba pa natin.
You're back on Basis Points. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange began earlier. Let's look at the initial figures. The main index is trading at 64.24 from Friday's index close of 64.06. In the red are financials, industrial, and mining and oil. Financials are down 0.01%, mining and oil down by 0.13%. The rest are headed to positive territory. That's industrial up by 14.14%, services up by 0.21%, holding firms up by 0.44%, while the property sub-index up by 1.76%. Gainers are leading with 50 issues against 36 decliners. Value turnover is so far at more than 224 million. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso opened stronger at 58.7 against the dollar from its previous close of 58.81. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, plans to require the registration of cryptocurrency asset service providers to boost investor protection. Under the draft rules that was issued by the corporate regulator, applicants must be an SEC-registered stock corporation or have at least staff members living in the country and meet the minimum capital requirements. The SEC also proposed that the crypto asset securities must not be sold without an approved registration statement. The draft rules of the SEC also stated that it has the power to order the removal of a crypto asset in the interest of investor protection. The Mindanao International Container Terminal Services Incorporated has secured a 25-year extension to operate and manage the Mindanao Container Terminal in Tagoloan, Misamis Oriental. To enhance the terminal's efficiency and capacity, there are plans to invest more than $100 million in infrastructure upgrades to cope with the expected increase in cargo volume. The MCT serves as a key gateway for trade in southern Philippines. Car sales in the country inched up by 8.5% year-on-year last month due to demand for commercial vehicles in a joint report of the Chamber of Automotive Manufacturers of the Philippines, Incorporated, or CAMPI, and the Truck Manufacturers Association revealed that vehicle sales increased to 40,898 units in November. The figure is higher by 8.5% than the previous number in the same month last year. Month-on-month, car sales rose by 2.2% from the 40,003 units sold last October. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas said that the release of polymer banknote series will not lead to the removal of the existing paper banknotes. This came after the central bank faced backlash for ditching national heroes from its new polymer banknote series. The BSP said that the old bills will be co-circulated with the polymer banknotes. The central bank also said that it always featured the country's heroes and natural wonders in banknotes and coins, adding that featuring different symbols of national pride on banknotes promotes appreciation of the Filipino identity. We're taking another breather. Basis Points. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Rain Musngi. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. The crypto market climbed over $800 billion. Tech giant Alibaba has announced plans to issue notes. Investors are anticipating a significant downward move for the cryptocurrency. Swift is adding a new chapter to her record-breaking year.
Follow the Money, 10:30 a.m.
Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Always on top.
Good morning, I'm Ferdy Salvador.
I'm Mikey Oreta, and welcome to Industry Beacon, where we shine a light on the trailblazers, the disruptors, and the industry leaders shaping our future. And in each episode, we'll explore how they're staying ahead in their respective fields, one industry at a time.
The industry changes quite rapidly.
We know where to go. We've got our comfort zone.
Those are early manifestations for the of what.
I'm happy you told me that because now I know I'm not getting Alzheimer's.
Industry Beacon on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Ito po si Father Nono.
Ako po si Father Fiel Pareha.
Ako si Risa Singson Kaupeng.
Kape at pandasal na po tayo. Ito po si Cardinal Chito Tagli.
Definitely, competition will be much stiffer because while we have the six, you have Maya Bank, we have Uno Digital Bank, Uno Bank, GoTime, Overseas Filipino Bank, and of course Maya. But of course, GCash is not a licensed digital bank player, and having to have another 4 of them by starting next year will definitely, make the competition more exciting. But it boils down to one thing. It now gives the consumers, the Filipinos, more options. And I think the bottom line here is really on how to further promote inclusive digital finance.
You're back on Basis Points. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump says he favors allowing TikTok to keep operating in the U.S. for at least a little while. Trump cites the billions of views on the social media platform during his presidential campaign. The U.S. Senate passed a law in April requiring TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to divest the app, citing national security concerns. But TikTok's owners have raised the issue before the U.S. Supreme Court, which has agreed to hear the case.
It was amazing. So we got the highest vote ever for a Republican candidate. We won by 36 points with young people. That never happens. A Republican loses by 36 or 40. So I'm going to have to start thinking about TikTok. I think we're going to have to start thinking. Because, we did go on TikTok, and we had a great response with billions of views, billions and billions of views. They brought me a chart, and it was a record, and it was so beautiful to see. And as I looked at it, I said, maybe we got to keep this sucker around a little while,
Still on Trump, the president-elect has threatened the European Union with tariffs if its members will not address the trade gap with Washington through oil and gas purchases. According to U.S. figures, goods imports from the EU were more than $553 billion in 2022, while its exports to the bloc were more than $350 billion. A spokesman for the European Union said they are ready to discuss with Trump how they can strengthen their relationship. This includes their common interests in the energy sector. Trump has made a barrage of tariff threats against U.S. trading partners, including Canada, Mexico, and China, which could reverberate across the global economy. Some members of the workers' union representing more than 10,000 baristas at Starbucks started a 5-day strike at stores in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Chicago on Friday. This was triggered by unresolved issues on staffing and wages. Workers United Union, representing Starbucks employees at 525 stores across the U.S., previously said that walkouts would escalate daily and could reach hundreds of stores nationwide by Christmas Eve. Hundreds of complaints have been filed with the National Labor Relations Board, accusing the company of unlawful labor practices, such as firing union supporters and closing stores during labor campaigns. But Starbucks has denied any wrongdoing. Volkswagen has reached an agreement with union leaders averting nationwide strikes. The deal was hailed as a Christmas miracle by union leaders after 70 hours of negotiations. It includes no immediate site closures, layoffs, or wage cuts. Volkswagen wanted to implement 35,000 job cuts and capacity reductions to be able to compete with cheaper Chinese rivals. But workers opposed this. The deal came after 100,000 workers staged 2 separate strikes in the past month. And that's it for Basis Points. I'm Mai Rodriguez. We'll be back tomorrow for news on the financial markets and more. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.